Vice President, Southern Vermont for New England Municipal Consultants. We are the sole reseller of Patriot software, AP5. This is the newest version of CAMA that Patriot has come out with. This is streaming from the cloud. We're there. I was not optimistic about this for a long time, but it works. It works great. I can actually show you just to save the load time. I have a Firefox shortcut, and it pops me right in. So there will be obviously security levels. So just like any local CAMA software would be. So you can have read only, you can have full admin, and anything in between. So if you have the zoning office just needs read only, super easy. They get their own login and permissions. Clerks, they just want them to do transfers, address changes, maybe loading photographs. All permissions are completely modifiable, which is really nice, especially if you're in a big office. So what we're looking at here is the account detail page. AP5 itself is set up like a web browser, so you can see I have all these tabs up on top that will navigate me to the different areas in the database. All these tabs correspond with direct units of comparison that are on the hard copy card that you take out in the field. On the account detail page, it throws a lot at you. One thing that I really like about it is associated parcels, so the whole contiguous parcel thing. Yep. The associated parcels field is awesome. So even if you have inactive or closed parcels, so we're contiguous parcels, we're closing two, we're creating one parent. So as long as the ownership's the same, it allows you to navigate directly to them. So here's a vacant piece of land that they own that's not contiguous. And here's a closed account that is contiguous. So especially when you get transfers that come through and the PTTR doesn't match what you have on record. And they have 15 acres on record, but the PTR says they're buying 7. It makes it really easy to find it. This section down here, you can integrate either Google Maps, Google Street View, or if you have digitized tax maps, you can put that will be reflected here. Navigation through the system is very easy. You get account numbers. So basically account number 1 through your total parcel count, Patriot will assign a account number for every parcel. Parcel ID, so in Manchester they have a 4-digit parcel ID. And then you can also, ownership, so if I want Smith, then I get all the Smiths. Everything's on a grid, so everything is built to be exported to Excel. So any reports, any filters, any data sets you want to create, it's all export ready. It's really easy to do. So I'm going to go to one of the higher end streets in town. I can navigate through by 911 number. So photos, very easy. You can actually click and drag. So you can go add photos. It's going to pull up. Let's see what it does on this one. It's going to pull up your operating system. I don't have any photos on this right now. And you can literally click and drag them into AP5, and then you can resequence them however you want immediately. So if I go 2, 1, 4, 3, and leave that at 5. I save that. I just resequence all my photos in a second.
So our town is not Patriot yet. We're in reappraisal, and at the end we'll have it.
Okay.
I think we're going to be in-house, so it'll be on our server. Is that similar, different? I don't know what it looks like
It's
yet.
identical.
Okay.
So it will be identical, yeah. So the program is the same. It's just a difference as to where all the data is stored. So a couple things that are kind of saying this. So, and then I'll get into the sketching. being on the cloud solves a plethora of issues. No more local server, no more local IT. Any support through Patriot, there's no more getting connections to computers or doing multiple client loads where, you know, I get a community where I want to put Patriot on 12 computers. Well, I have to then get a connection to each client computer, get Patriot hooked up to the server through your local IT, which in some communities can be an act of God.
What?
Right.
One of those.
Right? You know what I mean? So basically now, Patriot is just driving everything. So you send them an email and you say, this isn't working, they can fix it locally. Backups, data backups, that's a thing of the past now. Your data is literally never at risk because everything's backed up internally at Patriot. So it saves the town a ton of money in infrastructure, IT. It really speeds up any type of support issues that you may have. For us as a vendor, as someone that's selling the software and using it in multiple communities, we were hesitant at first. With this, we want to make sure that it would perform the same as it would on a local server. It does. It does and more. And we are going to try and get all of our clients onto the cloud as soon as possible because it just saves, there's so many issues that just will be irrelevant. They won't even matter anymore.
So what would be the price difference?
So I believe, I got a bid. So this is for a conversion. This is so the AP5 cloud hosting is $2,800.
And that's per
The
year?
annual cost,
Okay.
yep. So, and that's for a community of Dorset, there are about 1,500 parcels. So I'm assuming there's an escalator clause in that, I'm sure, for larger files.
And there's an implementation fee too, which is what, to move the information from?
Yeah, so everything up above this hosting line is for a townwide reappraisal, is for a initial load for a reappraisal. So they're doing a conversion. So that's, oh no, you know what? I lied. That's for on-site server. And then this is for the web pro hosting is just $2,800 a year.
And what was the on-site annual fee if you have it on-site?
$2,000.
So
$2,000
$2,000 a year.
Yeah, yeah. But then you're on the hook for all your local infrastructure as well. So sketching, I mean, most of you guys are probably pretty familiar with it. Like it's kind of like CAD, you know, click and drag. So I can draw any shape as long as it closes. I'm good. The nice thing about this too, I mean, you can see this sketch is pretty intricate. I can draw pretty much anything. The nice thing is I can click and drag points. So you know when you have some really difficult angles, almost draw the shape square. So draw a square and then adjust it. And so you can drag each point
So you get the numbers.
until you get it to where it needs to be. I don't know if you guys are in server, so we layer all of our story heights. So it's one overall footprint. The designations within that footprint dictate the square footage that's assessed and valued. So TQS, 3/4 story, over first floor, over basement. And then first floor over basement. Cathedral, first floor, basement. So you can draw anything. I mean, that is the thing with most sketch software, but this really makes it's very intuitive. So, and then even here, you can see we got greenhouse. So if you have outbuildings that are attached to the main dwelling, you can sketch those outbuildings in, and they'll automatically be valued as an outbuilding in the special features yard item field. You can rotate. So I want to rotate the sketch for some reason. What else? You can add, so, you know, you can add copious note. You can add notes in here, so roof worn. Or you could say TQS equals loft. It allows you to embed a lot of data. And then once you build it, that's the thing we always say when we do a mastery appraisal, Once you build the foundation, you build it once, now you're just tweaking it. So now, year 2 after the reappraisal, you're just adding more. Maybe you get an inspection on a property that was never inspected before, and there's so many places to be able to put this information. So I am just going to get out of this. And I'm not gonna save it. Activities are incredibly important. I think they're one of the most important pieces of data you can collect. Why were you there? When were you there? What did you do? So, when you have a lot of parcels and you're going out doing permit checks or incompletion checks, you're going back, you're changing hundreds of values a year, you want to have an activity that matches up to that valuation change. So whenever you go back, it could be years later, it could be the next month, you're going to say, oh, okay, so here, so I know, so I was there, so we have this set up in Manchester, so this is an assessor change, I was there September 8th. Ryan was there. We have a built-in result code. Now these result codes you can filter by them. So you can say, I want to see every property that I've inspected. There's also a completion box. This completion box makes it so easy for us, especially Master Reappraisal, to send out re-inspection letters. Any property that doesn't have that box checked, a report comes up immediately. You can just say complete equals false. You get a report with everything. You can batch print that report. You can make bulk adjustments to that report as well.
So any way to set like a date and time, like, hey, we're going back and check this on September 10th, any way to program that into it also, that you can flag yourself?
Like a reminder?
Like a reminder to go back out. Yes, and we do that multiple different ways. So it's more of a flag. So we can flag the parcel. So let's say hypothetically this parcel was under construction. We're there April 1st, it's 50% done. So now I'm going to add additional depreciation for what's not done. That itself is a flag, and I'll show you that.
You'd have to go and build that search for that uncompleted part. What I'm
Yep.
asking is there any way to set a time or date and say, hey, I want to go back to this property and have it pop up like this property shows up? Or do you have to search it by a flag?
There isn't, yeah. So there's not like an alarm.
Okay.
Yeah, no, there is that, which is an interesting idea though. I'm trying to think. Most of that stuff, as you know, is kind of our schedule. So you kind of set up schedules, throughout the year for what you're going to do.
Right.
And then within that schedule, you can say, well, I need to see, and I'll show you, I want to go look at all of our NC properties, our not complete properties, or our UC, our under construction properties. And then you can get that report and get that list very readily once everything's flagged correctly.
Right.
So the other thing I'll just show you, so notes, so you can attach notes to activities. So you can say inspected house, not apartment garage, right? So, because I'm gonna have a completion and an inspection result here, but I only inspected the house, not the garage. So now I'm in grievance. The appellant's saying, well, my apartment garage you got is way off. Oh, well, it says I walked through your property. Oh, here's a note. Oh yeah, your tenant wouldn't let us in the garage. So we didn't actually inspect that garage property, so now you actually have, just think about that conversation. That conversation go one or two ways. Well, I don't know how your apartment garage, it is what it is. Oh no, there's a reason why we're off. I mean, now let's talk about that. And then that note is going to be attached to that activity. So I'll show you. So there's a bunch of different ways we can flag properties. Up here we have these two status bars. So parcels can hold multiple statuses. Most status we all want, current use, right? So you could have a current use property and probably not typically, but it's not going to be in a TIF district. But you could have a current use property in a TIF district, and now those are both flagged. I can go and filter out the database and get a list of everything in current use, so I can look at it all cohesively. What that also allows us to do is how we do current use is we actually do batch calculations where we make adjustments to every property that has a current use status code. Where we delete every 60 or current use line from those parcels and then run a current versus previous report. Now that current value is the enrolled value. The previous value, the difference is the enrolled, I'm sorry. When you delete the current use lines, your current value is the non-enrolled value. And their difference, or what was subtracted, is the enrolled value. So, and you can print out a report that shows that, and you can just go right down the line in current use and just get them done. That in this is a little bit different because it's all a singular database.
You're doing that because now that's the data field that's being uploaded into VPI.
Yep, so now I can print out that report and I can go on VTPI and I could just go right down the list, whenever they get it by parcel ID order, right? So I didn't have parcel ID order last year, so I had to jump. So my report's in parcel ID order, but VTPI wasn't, so I had to jump through my report and cross stuff off. Once VTPI is done, hopefully you'll be able to collate and organize anything for either parcel ID order, span order, address. That way, however your report spits out, you can match it up and just go right down the line.
So we're clear, we have like 35 parcels in current use. So,
Yep.
so we would go in, delete out the current use line, so there's no value.
Yep.
And then we compare from last year to this year. Where are we getting that new value from?
So
we could clear that out and then we figure out what the non-enrolled acres is.
Exactly.
Okay.
And once you figure out what the non-enrolled value is, you know what the enrolled value is because you have one total value. So you have a total land value, right, $700,000. I subtract the current use lines. The land value I have left is $350,000. So the enrolled value is $350,000.
And then I have to manually, for 36 parcels, put that 350,000 in for each.
Yes, so that's something that we are working with development because AP5 and VTPI are under the Catalyst umbrella. So we do have that up in development as to how to streamline current use calculations and in hopes to be able to just export that data directly
And
into
then the
VTPI.
farm building use, that's just,
Yeah, that's gonna be, I spend more time with
Sure.
non-homestead, homestead, enrolled farm buildings. I think the land is kind of easy.
Yep,
Figure out.
lands, yeah.
Like, but to figure out the enrolled farm buildings and non-homesteads
Yep.
into the VT pie, making it green or.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
That-
processing
that's the
facility,
process.
yeah, farm, shed.
And the rounding. Like,
Yes.
Are we rounding by the hundreds, down, up, 50?
Yeah, I mean, so what we do is we have everything starts in land, right? So land use codes, so R1, R2. We have alternate land use codes, so for non-homestead, we can flag any part of the building. So I'm going to show one thing. So I just want to show in depreciation. So just getting back to your kind of how we're flagged for annual work. I'm going to go unfinished. I'm going to just go 10%. Right? So this house is 10% undone. I can now filter out and I can say, show me every parcel that has an NC, or just has an NC, or I can say, show me every parcel has an NC greater than 5. So maybe I only want to go to my
Can you do that there, or do you have to do like the query fields that you have to do in the old version of it, where you have to pop
Yeah.
that thing over?
So you have to grab your filter.
Okay.
So we're going to grab our filter here. We're going to go to depreciation.
So what kind of training does NEMC give you as far as getting familiar with this and getting through? Because that's one of the things I find is that the query fields are challenging. Where you want to pull up and then also coming up with the values they try to search for.
They are challenging. So I'll show you this. So under depreciation, this NC is in special, right? So now I'm finding and it was under building depreciation. It used to just be depreciation. Now I click on that, I get this is everything that's possible in these fields. I go to my special depreciation, so now I'm matching, and I want to say equal to NC. And I'm going to add that to my criteria. I can also say special percent is greater than 5%. So I'm saying show me everything that under special depreciation is equal to NC, and every special percent code is greater than 5%. I'm gonna add that to my criteria. Okay. And
And
here
I
comes,
assume you can save that report that
Yes,
you
you
do
can.
multiple times, just pop it up.
yes, you can.
And that's, we're looking at the account numbers right there, that's all listed. So
Those
you
are,
click
those
over
are all the
those,
those are all the parcel IDs.
Okay, parcel IDs.
Yep. So you can do the same thing, so you can do that same filter in a report. Takes a minute for the report module to pop up. So the reports are really nice. That's where you can really do a lot of analysis. So now I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna go to my depreciation, special obsolescence. It will give you description. And I'm gonna filter. Building depreciation. Special is equal to NC. Save that, well, I need to add it. So you can see in our conversion, these are all our mailing batches that we saved. So those are all built-in filters that are nice. I'm just gonna create a new one, NC checks. So now I have, now that report will populate. And there you go, there's your list. You can also take that same filter and do a batch print. So you can do a batch print of that same filter and print out every record card all at once. This also gives you the ability, so, and we didn't set this up in town for this, you can add notes to any field. So under depreciation, you can add notes for special depreciation. So if you set it up correctly, you can have notes here that say, okay, so it's NC, it's 25% incomplete. And the note can say, kitchen, primary bathroom, and part of the first floor were incomplete when we were here last. So now you have where you have to go, the percentage that it's unfinished, and directions as to what you saw when you were there last. So you know, all right, I'm going up to John's house, he's not home. Yeah, last time I was here, the kitchen wasn't finished. I'm probably gonna have to leave a door tag or call him, whatever. You know, walk around the outside, I'm not gonna get what I need. These reports are awesome to take out in the field with you when you're out doing these, especially if you get the notes set up correct. Another thing, and I just like to show this because it's just so easy, but mailing labels, 5160, I'm not even gonna filter them out. Owner order, it's
And you do
real
like
easy.
a Dymo printer driver?
No, so these are, so I don't,
Those are the sheets, but
Those
you
are
got
the
a
sheet-
little
you
Dymo.
got the little
that
Dymo?
Really, because a lot of times, we're a small town, so I'm not printing them by the sheets, I'm printing 6 at a time, because I made updates.
sure. I don't know, I don't believe it has that ability. Might.
Well, as long as
I've never used
as
that.
long as
I
you
think
can
you
set
should
it up
cut
as a
and
printer
paste,
driver.
Like, get your dyno on one side, this
You-
on the other, cut
What,
and paste.
what you might be able to do is, once you get that report, you can export that
Yeah.
to Excel. And then, or whatever, if there's, I don't know if there's a specific software for that printer.
Well, currently, we're set up through NIMRIC, kind of what you said. When it does a print, it kind of takes a snapshot of that.
Yep.
So then I can just drop it in my Dymo and hit paste, and whatever I did as a label and paste.
Yeah, and you can do that same thing with that report.
Yeah,
You
that
can do
would
that
work.
same thing with that
So
report.
little idiotic things like that, specific towns, you're okay with working with? It's not like, well, the whole software has to be, because that's more specific, right? I mean,
So I guess
printer drivers.
So I guess my answer to that would be, if you just had that little label printer, and I'm doing, and we need it, I'll print them. You know, we'll print them during the reappraisal process. I'll figure out how to make it so you can print with your,
Okay.
what you have.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might take a minute, but, you know, I'm always figuring out stuff like that. That's one I haven't run across, but it makes sense, you know, if you're only, you know, doing like 5 or 6 labels. If you're doing 5 or 6 labels, it might be, you can still run the report and get that sheet, and then just manually put them into whatever works. But if you wanna print a whole town,
Yeah, that
Yeah.
would be the only, I wouldn't do it for
you know,
even 50 labels, I'd do the sheets.
yeah. So everything can be, everything's adaptable one way or the other. There's always a way to do something. So I'm gonna get rid of that. What else did I want to show you guys? So another cool thing, you can never delete anything anymore. You can delete it, but you'll never lose it. Every revision is collated and captured. So if I go to my revisions tab here, and this is what I need to create a table. Oh, here it is. So this is every time I've clicked save since I've had this up. It's only 57 times. So we finished the Manchester reappraisal. I ran this report for the entire duration we were there. We clicked save 315,000 times. I was pretty proud about that. I was like, wow, that's a lot of.
And can you actually go there, pull it up and see what the revision was or what the change was and then?
Yes, so you can see, so in 2023, on parcel ID 1803, I changed the valuation total. I changed the sketch on parcel ID 1161. So this sketch, so say I want to revert to where I was, all I have to do is say roll back. So let's say this entire sketch session. So you can see I get 1161, I'm in the sketch, 1161, I'm in the sketch. All right, I didn't want to do that. I already hit save. I already saved it to the current year, the live database, it's in there. All I have to do is I select all those rows, roll back selected rows. You sure you want to roll this back? Yes. Everything, now I'll find that. Everything I just selected, I just reverted back to where it was prior to me hitting save.
And the next lister comes and says, you idiot, no, that was what we needed. So you've saved a new save, so you can revert back to what you reverted over. Right?
Yes,
That's awesome.
you can, yeah. It's pretty wild. So I actually deleted a parcel on accident, and this is how I found out about this. I was like, oh my God, it was, you know, of course it wasn't a, you know, 2-bedroom ranch, it was a 7-car
Sure.
farm. Like, you know, I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I was able to go back and it reverted right back immediately. It was like nothing had ever happened. This is important to realize, this is important to understand, so this revisions table, because what this allows you to do, and this is an awesome feature, there's a session edit in AP5. So say I want to mess around, right? But I don't want to change anything right away. I want to test. I want to test different, what do I do if I do this? This is also how we're going to do current use. I can go into a session edit. So I'm going to start my session. I am going to go into this sketch and I'm going to delete this out. And I'm going to save it.
And that comes up more often than not, because we encourage people to say, you know, ask us what your taxes are going to be.
That's right.
Done.
You want to do a hypothetical.
Building this garage or this addition, what is it going to do for them?
100%. So yeah, so say we want to add a garage, so I'm going to add an outbuilding here. That's going to go down. We're going to add a bank barn. We're just going to call it 2,000 square feet because we don't know what we're doing. It's going to be really nice. It's going to be a really nice bank barn. We're going to say A. And we're going to run it just so we get the right. It's a detached building. We want to depreciate it we have our table set up, our depreciation table set up. This is nice to do when you have an outbuilding that's not done, because now I could choose to depreciate it on an override, and I could depreciate it 50%, 100%. This is also where Alt LUC, I have to set it up in land. This is where I could say this bank barn is non-residential. And now that's if it's enrolled in current use. It's now gonna come over in VT Pi as a non-residential building, and now all my values in VT Pi are gonna match up. Because now, when we roll from Patriot, it's already putting that value of that enrolled bank barn in the non-residential column. And so when you get your roll, everything now matches perfectly.
Even though they don't claim it as a non-residential on their tax form.
Yep, because enrolled farm buildings are the same, it's the same
Doesn't mean they
thing.
do the HS
You-
form, right?
You could also use this for commercial, so you could say alt LUC is 41 or commercial code. So it's, they run a business out of it. You could say that 100, the same thing is gonna dump it in that non-homestead column. So I'm gonna save that. I'm gonna go and, you know what, I'm changing the address. We're gonna change the address. We think it's 70. And I'm gonna go to buildings, and I wanna change. So the other nice thing about this is that, it's just while I'm looking at this, bathroom and kitchens we can grade independently. So if I go good, that's a factor, it's a factor of 50. So I have a base rate, 6,500, it shows you what the factors are. It's very good, it's a factor of 2, it's gonna double it. So I'm gonna change that. I'm gonna change the overall grade of the house, we'll call it an A-grade house. I'm gonna save all that. And then I'm gonna recalculate, and I'm gonna change my value. I'm hoping this works, so up to 644. Now I'm gonna end my session. And look what it asks. Do I wanna keep my changes, undo my changes, or continue my session? I wanna undo all my changes. Right back to 309,100. So you don't have to remember everything that what you did, because
Take your camera.
that's right. You don't have to print anything out. You don't have to print out the original version, and then manually put everything back. So for hypotheticals, it's awesome. What we're getting development to do is to be able to run reports while you're in a session, and that will allow us to do that current use function. We'll be able to go out, do a batch calculation where we delete out every current use line in a session. We then print out the report we need to fill in all of the enrolled and non-enrolled values in VT Pi. Once we print out that report, we end the session, revert all the changes. I have all my answers for current use, and I didn't change any values in the system. And the reason we have to do it this way in AP5 is because AP5 is a singular database with layered years. So you never have to repoint to a new database. If you are on a local machine, you never have to load a new database on a local machine from year to year. All you do is change the year that you're in. So up here in the corner, 2023, I can just bump back to 2022, and you can change the color scheme. You can change the color scheme for previous years for your live. So what I say is, so your live database should be, green or blue or color you like. It's like green means go. This one, Gordon wanted this one backwards. He liked blue. So 2022, I know I'm in a previous database. I can still look at everything, and I can still even save stuff in this database, but it's going to ask you a bunch of times if you're sure you want to. So for E&Os, everything else like that, it makes it real easy. You can go, and if you have this on multiple machines, so you have multiple client machines, so you have the town clerk, title search, zoning, all their permissions and their logins would stop them from being able to alter anything. So that means you can give them carte blanche. You can say, you can look at every year you want. I don't have to restrict what database you have to make sure you don't make changes. You can look at anything, because all your action bar is going to be grayed out. You're not even going to be able to press the buttons. So I can go back to 2023 just like that. And where am I on time? So one other thing I want to show you, and Mimi and Dennis and Randolph are doing an amazing job, document links. And you could probably speak more, because you've done it way more than me. You can scan, you can upload PDFs, you can upload scans. What are you doing? You're doing all the PTTRs,
We're doing our
deeds.
TTRs,
Yeah.
a PDR's MLS sheets
Yep,
and deeds for life estates or enhanced
Yep.
sites, because we decided that there's just too many types of life estates, like retained, reverse, not reverse. but,
yeah,
reverse, enhanced, and the enhanced life estates like really play a big role in all our
Yeah.
current use, right? Because you're not
Yeah.
gonna take the time to separate all its current use if it's an enhanced life estate, right? Only for regular, so we put the life
Yeah.
estate deeds, so
Yep.
you know who the remainder men are.
yep.
And
The nice thing is, once you link it to the
Yeah.
file, it's that you looked it up once, you found it once, you moved it once, and now it's forever linked to that parcel.
Without current use maps too.
Well, I think we're gonna move into that as soon as they become
Yep.
PDFs, because I have some current use maps that are old, like,
Yeah,
you know, those Potter machines with ammonia.
yeah, yeah. So, yeah, so anything that you convert to a Word document or PDF, you can link directly to the parcel and document links, and it will always be there. The one last thing I want to show you guys, which is awesome, especially when you get into grievance BCA, there's a comp sales module on this. So the parcel you have selected is going to be your subject. You can change the weight, so this is something, I'm going to leave this alone. You can say that, all right, I have a good kitchen in my subject, so I want every comp to have a good kitchen. I would do that by changing this rating to 100. So kitchens have to match 100%. Right now I have it 50. So basically kitchens, if I have a good kitchen, the comp's gonna have a very good kitchen or an average kitchen. It's gonna allow for one shade higher or lower. So you can get if you have hundreds of sales and you can get very specific with this, and it will spit out less comps, but they'll be very, very strong. So you can save these models. So if you get a model that works, so basically, you have a default model, which is kind of loose, I'm gonna look for a bunch, I don't need it to be perfect, we'll make a lot of adjustments. You could go high compare, high match. So basically you'd say, I'm gonna change this model, so I want something that's almost as close to identical as possible. I can go back out here, please work, calculate comp sales. Let me show them. There you go, boom. So there are six comparable sales to this subject instantly.
You choose the time span for that, or is it?
Yes, you do. So the time span, the parameters of this are April 1st, 2021 to April 1st of 2023.
And what tab is that?
Manship.
No,
Oh,
what
the tab. So yeah, the tabs, that's the one thing, it's really packed in. So this is a parameters and items tab. And down here you can see you can have your sale date range. You can also save a bunch of models. So if you wanted to really mess with this and have different levels of validity in your models, you can save them so that you never have to. So the biggest thing with AP5 is once you do something once, it's there forever. And you just build on top of that. So, when I say this all the time, when we get done with a townwide reappraisal, I tell you, we just built you a steel reinforced foundation. You can build a one-story building on top of this or a skyscraper. It's really up to you. But your base is strong. Everything works, everything's collated, everything's organized. You can then go back out here, and let's see if it'll let me print this. It will print this report with adjustments. So it will make adjustments to all the comps versus the subject based on values set in your Canvas software. So you don't have to make adjustments. The adjustments are already done for you. And let's see, come on. Show those comps. There you go. So making adjustments for land, making adjustments for grade. And here you get all your adjusted sale prices.
Now, is the land adjustment based on size in your land schedule?
In this case, it's based on size because I said I want every comp to be in the same neighborhood.
Right.
Yep, so if I didn't have every comp in the same neighborhood, it would be adjusted for size and also a different neighborhood designation.
Now, can the house site and the residual land be different neighborhoods?
No. I mean, they can, but I don't know why you would.
Because we have ones where if they build the house here, it's one neighborhood, if they build the house over here, at 50 acres or 80 acres, which,
It's on the other side of the track, per se.
No,
Is that a mountain?
just, our neighborhoods are a mess, and we're about to be reappraised, so maybe they won't be, but
I-
right now, we have houses that if they move, there's like 4 different neighborhoods within 4 houses. So it's,
So I would just say, so I get exactly what you're saying. I would be really cautious in doing that. You can do that. The easier way how we would address that is if you had excess acreage, I could bump off and say out of 100 acres, it's 20. I could bump off another land line. And I could say, let's say we got 20 acres of,
you pay by land grade.
of excess. And now I have all these influence factors. And so now I can say, and I could say something as easy as its location warrants a minus 25% influence to that 20-acre line. So instead of putting it in its own neighborhood, which would change the base acreage rate, I can leave it in everything in the same neighborhood, which would be an R6 for us, our primary NBC. And then I can adjust specific acreage within that for its direct characteristics. So a perfect example of flooding that's going on. So I got 20 acres in floodplain. I'm not going to change your neighborhood because you're in the same neighborhood, but I can come out here and I can add floodplain to this. I thought we would. Oh, there it is. Floodplain, floodway. And I can give that same, I can give maybe, now I'm going to give a minus 50% on that. And then let's say this, but the house site, the first acre, it's beautiful.
Yeah. It's
Oh, it's
property, because it floods.
it's late, or let's go with the view. Let's say it has a really good view.
So we're familiar with doing land grade by, land grade of 1 is our typical, and then we go
Oh, yeah.
up and down from that. Is that similar in here, or are we doing it all with this adjustment?
It is, so it is similar, so you can see, I have NBC, so we have R1 through R6, R1 through R10 in Manchester. Village,
R1 being,
rural, so
Oh.
rural residential, so that would be
Okay.
kind of like out, all
Yeah.
your dirt roads. We have village V1 through V9.
oh, so these are zoning designations, or no?
They are not, they are our designations, so, but you think about village-style neighborhoods. So you can have a village-style neighborhood that's outside of the town's village district.
Mhm.
It's still gonna be valued the same way as everything else in the village. Same thing with high traffic, so all of our X1 through X9 neighborhoods. High traffic village,
Multipliers, sorry.
yes, so
If
these
you're
are.
from Nimerick, would this be like your neighborhood multiplier?
So these neighborhood designations are a couple things. They're base acreage rates for excess acreage, they're base house site rates, and then they also have factors that play into them too. So you could have a base first acre rate at 100,000 in a high traffic neighborhood. It's going to take 10% off automatically because of the type of neighborhood that it's in. So we, with our land schedule and our land values, we can get utterly specific. We can get overly specific where it's kind of crazy. So you can see how I'm already changing this one. And then obviously we've got commercial. All of these are condos. So condos have their own neighborhoods because they have their own factors. We treat condos like their own town. So condos will have their own condo factor that's associated with them.
So we got multiple land schedules in there.
Yeah.
So that's gonna go to that condo land schedule.
Correct. So you think about this, so condos have no land, right? So, but there could be really nice condo complexes and not so nice condo complexes. So you could have certain designations, neighborhood designations that are a factor of 5, and you could have other designations that are a factor of 90, they're minus 10%. So, and I'll just finish up with this. So You can see, so we're in an R6. The first site acres get hit with the 25% view. We have another 20 acres in floodplain. I could even go further and say that, oh, you know what, there's also an easement on the first acre, so I'm gonna go -5. So I'm assessing the view consistently as everybody else on the road. They have an electric easement that runs across their front yard, so I'm gonna do a minus. And then I'm gonna throw the excess 20 in floodplain. So you see, because that's a real world, that's real world. You know, so you
that
can
is the
quantify that.
land grade that we're familiar with then in Microsoft.
So except in Microsoft, you don't have the ability to make all these adjustments within that neighborhood land schedule. So this is at its base is an R6. That's gonna set up all the base values for this property. But this property has a lot of characteristics that set it apart from the properties next to it. I can quantify every one of them. I can quantify every single one of them. Now, you do that in a lot of different ways. A lot of that, this is where, when you're dealing with mastery appraisal, you're like, well, everything's a science, right? And where's the show me, how many times we heard, show me the algorithm. Show me the X minus Y plus Z equals my value. That doesn't exist. This is the nuance. This is where you can get into nuance, and it turns into more of an art form, where now I am massaging this value to quantify its direct characteristics that set it aside from the properties surrounding it. So, you know, everything's a funnel. You start narrow, and you start wide and go narrow. You can get pinhole narrow with AP5. You can really hone in on stuff. So
when you print the property record card,
yep.
are those coded? I mean, how do you know what's what?
It will literally say view. It will be reflected exactly as it is right here. It will say view plus 25%, easement -5, floodplain -50.
So that would print out on the card,
It would.
regardless of how many you have.
Yep.
It doesn't show the first 4 and the rest are there or something.
It does. It does. So if you have, I think it will show 6 landlines on the card printed out. But I could print out just this. I could print out just the land portion on its own sheet.
Yeah, we had a state appraiser that said, no, he wouldn't accept our multiple land grade adjustments, because there was only 3 that could print on the property record card.
That's goofy. I know. You guys have any questions? Anything at all?
Yeah. Back to the current use.
Yeah.
And that's a work in progress, I understand.
Yes.
So that bases on a land schedule, it's like a sliding grade, so like every acre has its own value.
Yes. So
So
basically.
without that, we're screwed kind of thing, because our land grade actually is only broken into 5 categories.
And you don't have you don't value your excess acreage on a depreciated curve. Everything's in at like 500
We got
acre.
2 acres, 8 acres, up to 99 acres, and everything over 100 acres. And oddly enough, it works, because whether it's
Sure.
whether it's a 25 acre parcel or a 45 acre parcel, it's those first 10 acres is pulling the value.
Yep.
And the others is kind of excess.
Yep.
But that wouldn't work on this, because somebody's got 3 acres excluded. That just broke into my second, so I would have to break out.
That's why we delete the lines, though. That's why we have to delete the lines and treat the enrolled as a standalone parcel. Because when we delete the 70 acres in current use, now the land's being valued on 10 of 10 as opposed to 10 of 80. So that's why we have to delete the lines out to get the correct residual values. Otherwise, you could just look at, okay, I got 50 acres in current use. It's where, I got it assessed at 110,000. But that's 50 acres out of the 100. You have 50 acres unenrolled. So that's the whole stick with current use, right? It has to be valued as a standalone parcel. That's why you have to go through that function of deleting out one or the other, so that your excess acreage and all your land is valued on a curve of 10 of 10 as opposed to 10 of 100.
So it's not coming out of VT5, because right now we do the calculations in VT5.
So the calculations and everything, all the data input still will be in VT Pi,
And it won't
but
just come over and overwrite.
This This isn't coming over.
We want them to, so we're hoping that because they're under the same Catalyst umbrella, that will be in the future once, we have to create a function for them. So, just to kind of so, since AP5's come out, this is version 3. We started with version 0, 5.0. We have been working directly with Caitlin in development, who is an assessor in Florida. She is the bridge between functionality and how the job works in the software. She's the only one that we can talk to that can actually bridge that gap. It's been working really well because we bring to her functions that we have to use in this state because of state statute and just how things are done. She then can translate that to development so that it will actually work. And that's something that we've been working with them very closely on. And so my goal is current use. I wish I could say, all right, I'm going to put this in current use, and I want to go to my account detail, and I want to click a button that says calculate enrolled value. That it's possible. It's just we need to get there. You know, this is just very, very new. So I want to be able to say calculate enrolled value, and then even better, load enrolled value to VT Pi.
Does that include conservation land? Is that something different? Like, how does that?
That's different. I
You
mean,
know, the conservation land that's in current.
sure. So I mean, there's always an exception to the rule, right? We always say that there's all these rules, but there's hundreds of exceptions to every rule that we have. So yeah, I mean, if that function, if we can get that function to work for 99%, then we have to specifically look at one or two. I mean,
Like, yeah, like
as
the-
opposed to just
the-
painstakingly go through each
Yeah.
one, you know. So
The GMC or whatever, their electrical lines, whether they go through forest versus if they go through ag.
sure. I mean, and that type of stuff though, once you get it set up, then every year after that it should be real easy because it's already been built. It's there, you know. So yeah. No, thanks for cutting your time here. I hope you guys enjoy this. I enjoy it. When it first came out, I was a big classic guy, and we were kind of hard to change because they were coming at us pretty hard with you have to use this, and now it's like, yeah, I wouldn't use anything else.
So to go back to what I said before, what kind of training does Patriot provide, or do you guys provide to help the listeners, you know, get this to work the way they want?
So yeah, so we provide training while we're doing the reappraisal, as much time as the client wants. A year after the reappraisal, we're available at no cost over the phone. We're always available over the phone, but we'll train for a year outside of reappraisal. And we also need to get better with ourselves. We need to offer trainings. That's one thing that we're trying to just hollow out time, especially for the DAs. I'll tell you, it's kind of hard. A couple of my towns, we're not contracted with, but we get all the calls, and I can't even say, talk to your district advisor because the DA doesn't know how to use our
Right.
software.
Well, even then talking to Bill, like, I just, Bill, show me how to roll.
Yeah.
The rollover, and I was like, is there just a chart that's already built up so I can do this,
Yeah,
and it's not there.
We're
Yeah.
getting there. So we're getting that ready for AP5. Patriot themselves, especially when everything's on the cloud, that's something that their plan is. You can call them and say, I need to do a roll, and they'll do it for you.
Okay.
You know.
Now, we talked about the hardware for the cloud. Is it less intensive than it is if you're?
You need an internet connection.
Yeah. You don't need to have like servers or anything like that?
Nope.
Okay. As compared to having it in your system, seems like that's a better way to go with the cloud.
Is your backup
Your
server,
upfront's gonna be short.
is your backup server on the same site as your primary?
They automatically back up everything for
Or
you.
are they on the same site?
Yeah, I believe. Yeah.
Geographic location.
Yeah,
So
if
if
they
something
don't-
were to happen to that building, you
Oh.
lost everything.
Well, that's an interesting question. I mean, it's Amazon, it's AWS, so I imagine there's a lot of redundancies. It's not like it's leased server space through Amazon, so I'd imagine there's quite a few redundancies with that.
This is,
I think we
Oh.
would like more, like where you said like trading where
Yeah.
Sometimes we just wanna do it and we don't wanna have to like
I've
call
called
somebody
Bill all
just to
the
like
time, yeah.
figure it out.
I mean, you can. So
Yeah.
that, I'll
We're
say,
like,
you know,
oh,
we
meeting
say.
minutes are calling me again.
Well, no, and that's fine, and we'll always be there to help, but, you know, there is a point in time where it's clicks. You get 100 clicks,
Yeah.
and you get 500 clicks, and then 1,000, and then 2,000, and 5,000, you know, so, this is something where it's a tool, it's basically, it's a tool that has unlimited capability. We may only use like 10%
So you
of
bring it
what
in,
it
right,
is.
yeah,
You know, but once you get into it, and then also the safety blankets with this is, nothing you do cannot be undone. Literally, nothing you do cannot be reverted back. So now you can be a little bit more, you can get in there and mess with stuff, you know, test, explore it. It takes time though. I mean, we know we need to offer more trainings. We've been talking about this at length. We're setting up, you know, areas we're gonna do that. We're gonna do northern Vermont and stuff down in Ludlow. I'm down in Ludlow. But at the end of the day, you can come to all the trainings you want, but then if you don't go back and touch it
Do it.
and do it, you'll never
gotta do that.
remember.
Yeah, it would be
Yeah.
nice to have trainings where you're touching the computer while the person's talking to you. You know, instead of
Yeah.
watching the person.
Yeah,
Well,
Do
that-
it?
Yeah, no, and that,
Right.
exactly. Have more one-on-one where, yeah, you're driving. Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you guys.